Lauren McCluskey was 21 years old, a college student at the University of Utah in Salt Lake City. She was known for her radiant smile, her warmth, and her determination. Friends and family described her as kind, caring, ambitious, and fiercely loyal to those she loved. She had dreams that were bigger than life itself, to graduate, travel, and make a difference in the world. But in the midst of her ordinary life, classes, friendships, late-night study sessions, a lurking danger began to shadow her days. Lauren was not a stranger to social interactions. She had a wide circle of friends and was well-liked by classmates. She had been in relationships like many young adults, exploring trust and love. Yet, one relationship would soon change her life, and eventually, the world would learn her story not as one of triumph, but as a tragic warning about stalking, abuse, and the consequences of not being heard. By the summer of 2018, Lauren noticed unusual behavior from one of her ex-boyfriends, Melvin Rowland. Initially, she brushed off minor signs of discomfort, a call at odd hours, vague messages, requests to meet. But soon, the messages became more insistent. Rowland began to follow her. He knew her routines, her favorite coffee shop, the times she left her classes, and even the parking spaces she preferred. Lauren felt threatened, uncomfortable, and anxious, emotions no young woman should have to experience. She took every precaution, changed her parking location, walked in groups when possible, reported the harassment to campus security, and even blocked him from social media. But the intimidation continued. She began documenting incidents, screenshots of texts, times he was near campus, and any strange encounter that made her uneasy. Lauren understood the seriousness of the situation and wanted to protect herself. She took responsible steps, a testament to her foresight and courage, but the system that was meant to protect her was not fully prepared to intervene. On October 22, 2018, Lauren finished her evening classes and headed back to her campus parking lot. It was a crisp autumn night, dark but familiar, a route she had walked hundreds of times without concern. She parked her car in the university lot and walked to her vehicle, keys in hand, mind focused on the assignments she had to complete and the mails she needed to respond to. It seemed like any other evening, a routine that should have been safe. But Rowland had tracked her movements. He approached her as she walked alone, an individual consumed by obsession and anger. Lauren had no warning before the horrifying event that would follow. Despite her efforts to protect herself, the stalking had escalated to violence. Rowland shot her multiple times, ending her life in a place that was meant to be safe, a university campus. The university, friends, and family were in shock. Lauren's life, vibrant, promising, full of potential, had been violently stolen. The incident not only shook Salt Lake City but became a national headline. Social media and news outlets shared her photos, her achievements, and her story. Candlelight vigils were held across campuses in her honor. Her name, once known only to friends and classmates, became a symbol for the dangers of stalking, the vulnerability of women, and the critical importance of taking threats seriously. Following the murder, Rowland fled but was later found in another state. The authorities captured him, and the legal proceedings began. The tragedy raised difficult questions about the adequacy of campus security, the effectiveness of restraining orders, and the systems in place to protect women from stalkers. Lauren's family, devastated by loss, became vocal advocates for change, emphasizing the need for education, awareness, and preventive measures to ensure that no other family had to experience what they endured. Chapter 1 of Lauren McCluskey's story is not just about a life tragically cut short, it is about the warning signs, the struggle for safety, and the courage of a young woman who tried to stand up for herself against a predator. It is about the system's responsibility to protect, and the consequences when that system falls short. Her life, though brief, continues to serve as a powerful reminder of the importance of vigilance, awareness, and justice for victims. Lauren was not just a student. She was a daughter, a sister, a friend, and a beacon of life that touched everyone she met. Her story began as a normal journey through youth, ambition, and dreams. It ended as a tragic narrative that the world will not forget, a story that demands attention, action, and remembrance. Her journey, her vigilance, and her tragic death are the beginning of a conversation that continues to this day about safety, about stalking, and about justice. And while Chapter 1 ends here, her story was far from over. It would continue to shape conversations, inspire changes in law enforcement procedures, and remind every woman, every family, that vigilance and awareness are sometimes the only defenses against tragedy.
Lauren McCluskey's death sent shockwaves across the University of Utah and the wider community. Her tragic killing highlighted not only the personal loss suffered by her family and friends but also the systemic issues surrounding stalking, campus safety, and the protection of women. From the moment she was found, the question on everyone's mind was the same: how could this happen, and could it have been prevented? The first hours after Lauren's disappearance had already set the tone for an intense investigation. When she did not return home after her evening classes, her friends reported her missing immediately. The university police department began reviewing security footage, tracking her car's movements, and canvassing the campus for any potential witnesses. As her parents frantically contacted authorities, social media became a lifeline. Friends shared posts urging anyone with information to come forward, while local news outlets began reporting the story, spreading her photos, and providing updates on the unfolding investigation. As the news spread, a clear profile of the suspect began to emerge. Authorities discovered that Lauren had been stalked for months by her ex-boyfriend, Melvin Rowland. While the relationship had ended, his obsession had not. His knowledge of her routines, the locations she frequented, and the time she left campus made him an ever-present, hidden threat. Lauren had taken steps to protect herself, changing her parking locations, blocking him online, and alerting campus security. Yet, despite her efforts, the danger escalated, demonstrating the frightening reality many women face: that even when one takes precautions, persistent abusers can find ways to bypass safety measures. Public attention intensified as the details of the stalking emerged. Students, faculty, and community members were horrified. Vigils were organized on campus, with hundreds of attendees holding candles in memory of Lauren, while posters and digital campaigns urged awareness about the dangers of stalking and the importance of taking threats seriously. Local and national media covered the story extensively, amplifying her message in a tragic way. Warning signs should never be ignored. The investigation moved quickly once authorities identified Rowland as the prime suspect. The police traced his movements using surveillance cameras, digital footprints, and witness testimonies. As the search for him extended beyond Utah, the public followed every development closely. News outlets reported that Rowland had fled to another state, attempting to evade capture. The manhunt became a national story, reflecting both the desperation to bring him to justice and the broader societal concern for the safety of women in public and private spaces. Meanwhile, Lauren's family faced unimaginable grief while simultaneously engaging in advocacy. They gave interviews, appearing on television and radio programs, emphasizing the need for reform in how authorities respond to stalking complaints. They highlighted that Lauren had reported threats and that her attempts to safeguard herself had not been enough. Their statements brought national attention to the legal gaps and the necessity of improved protective measures, especially in university settings where students are supposed to feel safe. The case also exposed uncomfortable truths about the patterns of stalking and intimate partner violence. Experts were brought into the conversation, explaining that most stalking behaviors escalate over time, that early interventions could prevent tragedies. Yet, systemic weaknesses, such as delays in restraining order enforcement, lack of immediate protective measures, and insufficient monitoring, allowed Rowland to continue his predatory behavior. Lauren's story became a case study for law enforcement, universities, and advocacy groups dedicated to preventing similar tragedies. As Rowland was finally apprehended, the public's focus shifted to accountability and the legal process. The arrest did not erase the pain of Lauren's loss but provided a crucial step toward justice. Authorities meticulously gathered evidence, including forensic data, witness statements, and Lauren's digital communications, which documented the stalking and the final tragic confrontation. The thorough investigation aimed to ensure that the case against Rowland would withstand legal scrutiny and that the full story of Lauren's ordeal would be presented in court. Throughout the investigation, the media coverage served both as a mechanism of public awareness and a tool for advocacy. Social media campaigns kept Lauren's memory alive, urging policymakers to strengthen protections for victims of stalking. Students and community members used hashtags, shared videos of candlelight vigils, and created online forums discussing the case, ensuring that Lauren's story was not just another statistic but a catalyst for change. Chapter 2 of Lauren McCluskey's story illustrates the relentless search for justice in the aftermath of a preventable tragedy. It is about the tireless efforts of family, authorities, and the community to hold a perpetrator accountable. It is also about systemic shortcomings that allowed a young woman's life to be endangered despite her proactive steps to protect herself. The investigation, the arrest, and the media coverage collectively highlight the importance of vigilance, awareness, and reform.
Lauren's story in Chapter 2 is a testament to the strength of her family, the compassion of her friends, and the resolve of a community unwilling to let her death fade into obscurity. Her name became synonymous with the fight for better protections for women, particularly young women navigating public spaces. Though her life was tragically cut short, the pursuit of justice ensured that her story would continue to inspire vigilance, advocacy, and systemic change, laying the foundation for accountability and safety for others. Lauren McCluskey's story did not end with the arrest of her killer. Her death left a deep void in the hearts of her family, friends, and community, but it also sparked a wave of change and awareness that reached far beyond Utah. The shock and grief of losing someone so vibrant and full of promise was immense, yet her life and death became a catalyst for discussions about safety, stalking, and the measures needed to protect young women in public and private spaces. After the arrest of Melvin Rowland, the investigation and legal proceedings moved forward with intense scrutiny. The authorities gathered evidence meticulously, building a case that would ensure accountability. Lauren's digital communications, her detailed notes about his stalking behavior, and witness testimonies painted a clear picture of a life under threat. The process highlighted how important it is for victims to document and report abuse, and for institutions to take threats seriously. While Lauren herself was no longer alive to see justice served, her preparation, courage, and foresight became a critical part of holding her killer accountable. The trial drew national attention. Media outlets covered every development, emphasizing both the severity of the crime and the broader lessons it carried for society. Advocates for women's safety used the case to educate the public about the warning signs of stalking and the importance of early intervention. Universities, workplaces, and communities began reevaluating their security protocols, creating awareness programs, and encouraging people to speak up if they felt unsafe. Lauren's tragic story became a teaching moment for institutions and individuals alike. For her family, the legal process was both a relief and an ordeal. They had lost a daughter, a sister, and a beloved family member, but they found a measure of solace in seeing the system recognize the crime. They appeared in public, sharing Lauren's story, her achievements, and her bravery. They emphasized that no one should be silenced or ignored when expressing fear or reporting harassment. Their advocacy transformed their personal tragedy into a public mission, inspiring reforms and initiatives that aimed to prevent similar events from happening to others. The sentencing of Rowland brought closure in a legal sense. He received a life sentence without the possibility of parole, ensuring that he would never harm another person again. Yet the emotional wound of Lauren's loss remained unhealed. For those who knew her, the pain was raw, but so was the sense of pride in her courage. She had taken steps to protect herself, she had spoken up, and she had left a record of her life that demanded accountability. In a way, her actions before her death had contributed to the justice that followed. Beyond legal proceedings, Lauren's story influenced cultural conversations about safety, relationships, and gender dynamics. Students at universities across the country became more aware of the risks associated with stalking and harassment. Awareness campaigns highlighted the importance of listening to victims, providing them with resources, and acting decisively when threats are reported. The discussion extended beyond campuses to public spaces, workplaces, and online communities. Lauren's life, her routines, and her tragic death became examples of why vigilance, empathy, and proactive measures are essential for protecting vulnerable individuals. Memorials, vigils, and tributes continued for months after her passing. Friends and students placed candles, notes, and flowers at the university, remembering her smile, her warmth, and the life she could have lived. Social media campaigns kept her story alive, urging people to learn from her experience. Lauren McCluskey was no longer just a student, she had become a symbol of courage, awareness, and the demand for justice in situations where young women are at risk. Her legacy extends beyond immediate safety concerns. Policy changes inspired by her case encouraged universities to implement better reporting mechanisms, emergency notifications, and security measures. Conversations about stalking laws, restraining orders, and digital harassment gained momentum. The tragedy sparked legislative discussions and advocacy efforts aimed at creating a safer environment for women everywhere. In this way, Lauren's life, though tragically cut short, contributed to meaningful change that could prevent similar harm to others. Ultimately, Lauren McCluskey's story is a reminder of resilience, vigilance, and the importance of listening. While the loss was enormous, the awareness and reforms that followed serve as a lasting tribute to her courage and her life. She was a young woman with dreams, with friends who loved her, and with a family who cherished her. Her death became a call to action, not only for her community but for society at large, emphasizing that awareness, intervention, and justice are crucial in protecting vulnerable individuals. Lauren's life and the pursuit of justice in her name continue to inspire people to take threats seriously, speak up against harassment, and create safer communities. She may no longer be here physically, but her story lives on, in the laws that were strengthened, in the awareness that has spread, and in the countless individuals who now understand the importance of vigilance and protection. Her legacy is one of courage, accountability, and the relentless pursuit of justice, a life that, while tragically brief, continues to teach the world the value of listening, acting, and never ignoring a cry for help.